Hello and a warm welcome to all of you. Hope all of you are doing well today. Being a good person is not hard, but it doesn't just happen. As much as anything else, you have to want to be good, to be a good person, and make choices that correspond with your beliefs. No matter where you are in your life, you can make the choice to change. Joining us today, Sharona Stillerman, a practicing Raj Yogi for the last 38 years, left Boston in 1998 for Tel Aviv to open a center of Brahma Kumaris. She now coordinates BK activities all over Israel, helping people to find peace of mind and the inner resources to live day by day with hope. Before moving to Israel, she coordinated the BK Center in Boston and also worked as a senior lecturer in English at Boston University for 15 years. So let us all welcome Sister Sharona. Good morning for you, right?
Yes.
And warm
we're
welcome.
just about to leave the morning.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yes.
So over to you now, sister.
Thank you very much, first of all, for this invitation. Indeed, it's an interesting subject, isn't it? Not just good, but being quietly good. In fact, I would say it's a very important subject, very much related to the call of time. The call of time. So why? Because as Sister Javin was saying, we all know the benefit in being good. Being good would not be new news. And yet, this title, I feel, actually can be a response to the crises we see in the world today. Why? Why? Because, as we would all know, goodness moves us forward. If we're patient enough, we see that. Faithful enough, we see that. There's such a thing as karmic accounts, karmic debts, and the only wealth which pays our karmic debts is the wealth of character, being kind, being giving, being patient, being good. So there's nothing new about the value of being good, but how it can actually become a response to the crises we see in the world, that's what today's topic is about. Because we are in a crisis. It's not just the corona. Before the corona, we saw what the condition of the world has become. So much abuse of land and water that in many places of the planet, food hardly has any nutrition anymore. Water has been so polluted, the airs have been so polluted. Even breathing isn't safe anymore. Environmental crises, financial crises, and then, of course, an existential crisis before the corona. So much fighting between countries, cultures, religions, conflict, war, division. So, if this is the condition of the world, after so many of us would have only been trying in our lives to be good, then what to do? Why a topic like this? How is it possible being good could turn everything around? So let's take it word by word. Let's look at this word goodness, because it's not about the kind of goodness many of us would have been subscribing to. Quietly good. Quietly good is our title. What is being quietly good, and how is that different from just being good? I think you would probably know where I'm going with this. I'm talking about internal goodness, not external goodness, because we've gotten very good at being externally good. We know how to look giving and calm and respectful. We know how to create the performance. But this is not being quietly good. Quietly good means inside me are the genuine feelings of peacefulness, of respect, of generosity. So it's not like I'm being generous on the outside, but inside I'm counting everything because that person just keeps taking and never gives back. It's not that I'm beautifully calm on the outside, but inside I'm really angry. That's not being quietly good. Huh? It's not that I'm very calm on the outside, but stressed out inside. No. This is the goodness that has created the world we have today. It's not a very empowered goodness, is it? Because essentially what I'm talking about is being one thing on the outside and another thing on the inside. Making the two equal. No more performance, no more shows, but the real, genuine feelings of our values, our principles, our qualities. This is what it means to be quietly good. So the real question is, of course, how do we end up with that kind of quiet inside? No stress, no bossiness, controlling, no depression, no inferiority, superiority complexes, no anger, but just those beautiful virtues and values that we want for our life and for our relationships and for the world. So that's the next really good question, isn't it? How can we come from genuine feelings of goodness? And in this, I would like to share good news and bad news. Which do you prefer first, the good news or the bad news? I'm going to start with the good news. The good news is that, you see, these feelings that we want, like love or happiness. From love comes the ability to be respectful. From happiness comes the ability to be easygoing, not just on the outside, but on the inside. So these qualities that we want, these feelings, they are energies. Did you know that? They are energies. And the good news is that inside each one of us, these energies exist. It doesn't matter how much my character has become stressful, angry, impatient, bossy, selfish, self-centered. Doesn't matter. That's like one room in the palace of the self. And it is true. It would seem like every one of us has a room like that inside us. A room in which it takes no time at all to comment, to criticize, to correct, to complain. We each have a room like that. But this is a space outside that room, a different space. And in that space, outside that criticizing, commenting room, these energies of very beautiful feelings are flowing. They're literally flowing. So that's good news, isn't it? We like respect. We like to be respected, and we like to show respect. We like patience, and we like to be patient. Why? Because this is actually the energy that we are made of originally, at the very core of our being. No matter how much anger or depression has become your character, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, you know, what I need today is a really good depression. Nobody says that. Because depression is not what we are made of. That's a very different energy. It's there. It has its own room in the palace of the self. But at the core of my being, there's only these beautiful, divine, very elevated energies. So that's the good news. So what's the bad news? The bad news is that definitely something has happened to my ability to access that part of myself. Bad news is somehow I seem to have locked myself in the bathroom of the palace of the self. where there's the worst of me. And I can't seem to find the key. This is the bad news, isn't it? We don't want to be criticizing and complaining and judging and correcting and controlling. We don't want that. But again and again, that's the pattern we fall into. This is the bad news. Seriously, we're locked, we're blocked, we're trapped. I'm going to switch analogies. Another way of looking at this is these beautiful energies, because we've not visited them, used them, nurtured them, they have become depleted. This is the bad news. They are still there, flowing at the very core of my being, but in an extremely depleted condition. So, for example, your cell phone. Your cell phone. How well does it work when the battery is discharged? I've watched this, not planned well. And suddenly my battery's at 20 and then 15 and then 10, and I still have important functions to do on that phone. Important messages, important this, important that. And so I'm racing. But even by 5% charge on the battery, the phone doesn't work well. It drags, and I can't access some of its functions. You might have had the same experience. So the soul self, like a battery, which has been discharging. And the bad news is we have forgotten how to plug this battery in and recharge. Recharging at the level of the soul means recharging at the level of those core original energies. Because going to a restaurant, going to a movie, reading a book, calling up a good friend, actually these things do not recharge those energies. Which is why we would have been doing all of these things, and yet we still end up with a world like we have, relationships like we have, and moods within our own self like we have. So good news, but bad news. And yet goodness wins out because there's more good news. That divine self battery is rechargeable, and it is possible to remember how to recharge the self at this deepest level. There is a universal plug, you could say. And these highest feelings that we so much need in our lives can be recharged and restored. And this is where we come to the being part of this title. We've looked at goodness. We saw that we're not talking about your everyday ordinary goodness in which you're one thing on the outside, but something else entirely on the inside. we understood that it's about being quietly good. In other words, really beginning to tend to the feelings inside, not just the behaviors outside. So now let's look at this word being. Being quietly good. Because it's in the being that we have everything we need and all the hope that's required to move us forward. So as I've already said, this being is so interesting. It's not who I generally know myself as. Generally, if you ask someone, who are you? They'll say their name. They'll say their field, profession. But to give this as your introduction is like receiving a gift beautifully wrapped with a velvet box, ribbons, and getting so attracted to the wrappings. You forget all about the diamond that's inside, the gift itself. Because my name, my profession, even my nationality, my talents, my skills, these are all acquired things. They're not the original core me. So they're just like all the wrappings on that velvet box. Beautiful, attractive, but not the real thing. The real thing is inside, the diamond. This is who I am. I'm a living diamond-like energy. Made, as I was saying before, of these highest and purest energies. And if I can connect to that diamond-like self inside, this is the experience. You feel, first of all, an immense freedom because you're outside of that terribly negative room which you have been trapped in. You feel free and you feel these qualities like peace. You can even feel joy, you can feel love. They're there. And each time we visit the palace of the self, coming out of that small storage room or bathroom, it gets stronger. Stronger means those qualities become more and more available to me in my daily life, in my relationships, in my reactions, my responses to situations and people. So that's the being quietly good. We've got to get in there, prove to ourselves that we really are diamond-like, and experience it and start the practice of reaching for that before I think, before I speak, before I do. It's a very beautiful experience, actually, to sit there and do your thinking. And so what I'd like to propose is that we just take a few minutes, even now, to experience the being, because that's the foundation to the rest of the title for today. Quietly good means genuinely good, not as a performance. Completely depends on how much I can connect to that diamond-like self, the being inside. So if it's okay, very simply, you can close your eyes or you can keep them open, focusing on that picture behind me, which is about as close a representation of the being that we can get, just that beautiful point of light. This is how we understand the self, sitting right here, somewhere where you would place the mind. So eyes closed or open, just see if you can imagine this. Can you imagine your mind as a room? And can you go into that room and very honestly acknowledge what is its condition? There could be piles of thought stacked everywhere. Volumes of emotions overflowing on the coffee table or the shelves in the room of your mind. It might be so long since you have gone into the room of your mind to clean it up, sort it out, tidy it. There might be layers of dust all around, and old, crumpled, useless memories, notes to your own self or to others that never got sent. If we're honest, for most of us, the room of the mind might be very cluttered, very unorganized. No fresh air even to breathe. And yet, as you look around this room of the mind, imagine that you see at the far end of this room a door. And you approach the door, very curious to understand what could be behind this door of my mind. And you reach the door. Very slowly you turn the knob and you open it. And find yourself as if looking at a beautiful, long corridor. Very spacious, beautifully carpeted, with amazing paintings on the wall. Beautiful, beautiful, soft lighting. And you step into that corridor, moving down the corridor. Amazed by the spaciousness and the beauty of this corridor. And you see, just up ahead, another door on the left. On reaching the door, you open it and find yourself in a beautiful room, huge, beautifully appointed, thick carpeting, luxurious couches, armchairs, beautiful tables crafted by wood, handmade. Everything in this room is so beautiful. And you walk into this room and settle yourself in one of these comfortable chairs. And as you're just sitting there in this greatly deep and comfortable chair, armchair, you realize that this is a space where you can just relax. This is a space far, far away from all your roles, responsibilities, labels. Here, you're very far away from all those things because you have discovered a place for just being you. You have discovered a place for just being. For just being. Feel the quiet. Feel the calm. In this space, you can feel so free. And in this freedom, there is so much gentle quiet peace, peace, so much peace. And all you have to do is nothing. All you have to do is just be. But you have to be who you really are. And that is very peaceful, very independent, free. Intelligence. Inside the body, ready to take charge of how my eyes will see, my lips will speak, and my heart will feel. And as I get ready to come back to my roles, my responsibilities, I really have this desire to get to know myself, the original self, more, to nurture this beautiful part of me so that I can bring such pure feelings, genuine feelings to all my brothers and sisters, the whole world. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. That was wonderful. I think we need to visit this place and be, just like you said, just be yourself more often during the day, because as and when we come across circumstances or we come across people, situations, we go back to that being good, but only being good from the outside. But inside, there's a lot of chatter and a lot of noise going on.
It's a habit, isn't it? But there's more good news, Jabin Ben. There's more good news. Because this charges us. It charges the battery, as we were saying. But there's a much bigger battery. I should say a much bigger plug, a much bigger outlet for me to plug into. And this is why today is a good news day only. There was only one bad news and all the rest is good news. Because this is what we call meditation, right? Definitely meditation is going to help me be a better person from the inside out. And when we're talking about inside out, no duality, we're talking about power. My goodness will have power to it. So what does that mean? It means that I don't need to suffer for being good. We can know our goodness doesn't have any power to it. The charge is depleted. When all we're trying to do is be good, but there's pain, emotional pain, we get hurt, we get disappointed, we have failed expectations. All of these things indicate a goodness which is very weak. So meditating can definitely charge those energies, make them strong enough so that there's far less neediness, far less pain involved in being good, but it's not enough. Not enough to do what I said can be done with goodness. I was saying that it's actually the call of time. Being quietly good is going to confront all the crises in the world and turn them around. So for that degree of goodness, we need a bigger outlet. And so here I'm talking, of course, about God. And how the biggest good news of all is that God is accessible in new ways in these times of such extreme crises. God is available in new ways. And one of these new ways is just simply to get onto his wavelength. Because God is also a being, but God is the supreme being. Because God only has a palace of the self. There's no small storage room for getting trapped in, no bathroom, so to speak, in which there's only rubbish. Total, complete palace. In other words, God's energy always remains so elevated, so pure, so divine. He's like an ocean of peace, an ocean of joy. These are energies. And I, the soul, I, the being, am made of those energies because I am the child of God, made in his image. This is how. I look like that sparkling light behind me, and he looks like that sparkling light behind me. It's not to say that I am him or he is me, but really, it is the relationship of mother, father to the child. So how do I get onto that wavelength, which would just carry me there, to enjoy such experiences of closeness to God, source of everything good, every good feeling? This is how. Get out of that small room into the palace of the self, and you're halfway there. You just need to add this awareness that you're not alone in that room. The company of God can be experienced so easily. Just with that awareness, it's like we open the windows on that palace of the self, and his light comes streaming in. And I'm enjoying not just a beautiful room and incredible feelings of freedom and peace, but I'm enjoying the light of God. And in case my own light hasn't been enough to wash away whatever feelings of worry or depression, hopelessness I might feel, sitting there in that palace of the room, windows wide open and God's light streaming in, I can tell you that light will wash it away. Will wash it away. So this is very, very good news, isn't it? We have such a resource once we've understood being. Not only am I a resource for genuine goodness, but God is there in a relationship with me, just waiting to be with me like this and recharge me. Just waiting. And the final good news before we do one last meditation, to be able to experience this yoga, because making this connection with God is yoga, not just meditation. The point is that when I'm connecting to the source of these energies of goodness, my goodness carries the strength to reach all four corners of the planet, not just serving myself or those around me. You know, the atmosphere is not an empty thing. The atmosphere is not an empty thing. We're very, very affected by what's in the atmosphere. And I'm not talking just about physically, like a dust storm, which is what we've got going here in Israel right now. The atmosphere holds the energies of feelings, beautiful feelings as well as very negative feelings. That's why if we walk into a room in which everybody is so loving towards each other, it's a family that works very well, and they're having dinner together, we'll walk in and we'll just feel the love, the happiness. We'll be so comfortable to sit down and join them for dinner if we were invited. But if we've gone over to a friend's house and the parents have been arguing and the siblings have been arguing, even if you didn't hear the argument, you can feel it. You can feel it. And if they invite you to dinner, you maybe won't feel so comfortable. I'm saying, even if you didn't hear them arguing, we can feel it. We can know, because the atmosphere is not empty. So it's a huge nonviolent weapon to be able to come into my own genuine, original goodness, connect to the supreme source of all energies of goodness, and use those to see and speak and do. It's a huge light that we bring back into the atmosphere. And it is this light which is going to bring the whole of humanity out of this darkest hour. Because we are in the darkest hour of the night in our journey through time. We are in the coldest, harshest winter of humanity. So night never lasts forever. Day always comes. Winter never comes. Who's going to move us forward into that new day, that new time? It's not going to be our politicians or our teachers. It's going to be us. It's going to be any one of us who raises their hand in front of God and says, I would like to help you recreate the new day. So this is how being quietly good is a very powerful, important equation for dealing with the crises of these times. We can replace what's gripping the heart of humanity now, the fear, the anxiety, the distress. We can replace that with peace and love. This is the light of God. And in so doing, finish the night and begin the day. So to finish up, we can take one more meditation or yoga, as we say. Jabin, then what do you say?
Yes, sister, that would be good.
Okay. So once again, you're sitting comfortably. Eyes open or eyes closed. Whatever allows you to see what I'm saying. As much as possible, try to keep your mind on the thoughts I'm sharing out loud. And especially allow yourself to see what I'm sharing. And most importantly, open yourself to the feelings that these thoughts, these images create. If other thoughts or feelings come, just tell them you'll get back to them later. But now you're busy. This is what you want to do. So you're sitting comfortably, and now you have a lot of confidence about the journey. We go back into the room of the mind. We see the chaos of our everyday mind. We see the stacks of memories, images, emotions. But we're not distracted. We know why we've come into this room. We want that door. So we move to the door at the back of the room of the mind. And sure enough, when we open it, there's that beautiful corridor again. So spacious, beautifully lighted, and beautiful paintings on the wall. And once again, we move down the corridor and we see that door on the left. We open it. And sure enough, there's that same beautiful palace of a room waiting for me. Actually, calling me. And once again, I settle into a most comfortable armchair. Just allowing every part of me to relax into its deep, comfortable cushions. Feel I'm very far from all the roles and responsibilities. I have once again entered my room for just being me. I've entered my room for just being, for just being. I can feel the calm all around. And then there's the thought. It's such a beautiful day outside. Through the windows, I see acres and acres of green countryside. Why not open these windows? And even as I approach the windows, big, huge, beautiful windows, even as I approach them, I see the golden light of the sun and how it is streaming into this room. And as I open the windows, these rays of light seem to come right to me, wrap me, surround me, hold me. Actually, move right through me. Filling me with that same golden light. And I feel so full of His light. I feel so close to God. And I really open myself to this greatest goodness. I am a child of God. Never alone. And always, always able to be together like this and make everything good in me strong, genuine, pure, true, so that as I take up my roles and responsibilities in the world, I can be an instrument of truth to all my brothers and sisters, the whole world. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. That was lovely. I like what you started with, that goodness moves us forward and that we need to prove to ourselves that we are diamond-like. That is a beautiful feeling that comes when you tell yourself that I am diamond-like, and that we don't have to prove it to anybody else but to ourselves.
Very good.
Yeah. And to feel independent, free, intelligent, peaceful, just by practicing this. So being a good person isn't hard, but it takes a consistent approach. By using the traits that you shared with us today, anyone can be truly a good person from inside or within, quietly good, like you said. And with good humans, the earth receives good vibrations and calamities are minimized. So, the total effect of being good. Thank you, sister. So, we have a few questions.
Ah,
The first question is, how do I get over the feeling that I am not enough?
this is a very common feeling, especially for women. And it creates a lot of the competing and comparing and just nurtures every kind of insecurity. It's a very deep, deep personality trait to think that I'm not enough. We have to really get very serious about that particular habit, emotional, mental habit. Meditation, such as I described. We need to understand this diamond-like self. Culture, education, everything teaches us to focus on the wrapping. Make yourself a really velvety, beautiful box with all sorts of ribbons and decorations. Everything is trying to get us to focus on that and that our value is that. Nobody's helping us remember that that's just the cover. The gift, the treasure is inside. We need to practice. We need to practice coming out of that small room and sitting in that big palace. We need understanding. And from understanding this diamond self, talking to this diamond self, nurturing this diamond self. You know, there's a story, very short. Maybe we still have time for it. There's a Native American Indian father who says to his son, you know, there is a devil inside me and he's fighting. There is a devil and an angel inside me and they are fighting. And the boy said, really? Who's going to win? And the father said, the one I feed. So we've got to get knowledgeable about this diamond-like self. And then beyond understanding this part of me, we have to give time. Sit down and experience that diamond-like self. And then we have to put it into practice. Next time I get embarrassed or I'm shy or I'm feeling I'm not good enough, I'm just remembering what I've understood about the value, not just of my diamond self, but of being genuinely good in a world like we have today. And practice being genuinely good. And then sharing the good news. All of these things nurture the truth. The truth is that original diamond-like self. That's the truth. Plugged into, the analogy doesn't hold up, but I, the beautiful self, do not stand alone in this. The value isn't just of my diamond-like self, but of the one who has shaped me, polished me, so that I could be so beautiful and sparkling. There's nothing more valuable right now than the energy of true, polished, pure goodness. It can turn everything around. It can pay all our karmic accounts, not just individual, but national, cultural, global. I hope that helps.
Thank you, sister. That was excellent. I think we need to remind ourselves again and again, like you said, that we are diamond light whenever we feel low and we feel that we are not good enough. Yeah. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you, everyone. Our next session will be on the 3rd of April at 4 p.m. Jakarta time. Do look forward to have you join us once again. I have dropped my number in the chat box to feel free to message me so that I can update you with the details. And there's somebody asking if there is a recording for this program. Yes, the recording is available. You can message me and I can forward you the recording. And Sister Sharona, thank you once again for joining us and sharing with us your wisdom.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti to all. Best wishes. Best wishes.